there something in your fur, or are you just...
Really down, little bear. So we are live. We're good to go. Let me get this going. Ka-chink, ka-chink. Pin that to the top. We should be a golden. Alright.
Let's find out.
Need to move this over to here. I think we're good to go. I think I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off.
Sounds good.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Booth Review. As always, I'm your host, Devin Primrose, joined by the Sultan of Spice himself, Mr. Peter Strauss. What's going on, man?
Not much. Might be seeing new space behind me soon. My garage is going very smoothly at the moment. By the end of the XFL season, probably before, USFL is not until April, so maybe by the start of the USFL, I'll be, if we even cover it. I don't know what the plan is yet, but I will be in a new fun space.
I feel like we're just going week to week at this point, and we'll see what happens. If we talk about it, we talk about it. If we don't, oh well.
all I know is that the USFL is also going to have games at a NFL sized stadium, because technically the St. Louis Stadium's not an NFL stadium anymore.
It ain't gonna be as full as that one, I can tell you that.
Definitely is not. And Detroit has good fans, obviously, like of the Detroit Lions, but I don't think that's going to carry over to the Michigan Panthers or whatever other team is considered the home team there. I can't even remember at this point.
No, I feel like I'm interested to see. It's weird talking, USFL, and it's not even around yet, but I am interested to see how Memphis does with turnouts. I think Memphis. I'm trying to remember. I think Memphis had a team in the AAF, because I want to say Johnny Manziel played for them, and they weren't that good. But I'm interested to see, because that's one of those like smaller markets that is probably borderline like could host a professional team, very similar to like a San Antonio. It's like this city might be big enough. So I'm interested. It'd be nice to see Birmingham turn out more, because the Stallions were a ton of fun last year, obviously, and I think they'll be good again this year. But literally in every spring league, when Birmingham has had a team, fans just haven't turned out. Like, it hasn't been the support like there is in a San Antonio or in St. Louis, where they had 38,000 people for a freaking XFL game.
Yeah. I think I said it in the Discord while that game was on. I was like, this feels like an NFL game.
Yeah.
Like, with how it sounded like an NFL game.
Yeah.
I saw that crowd.
I saw today that they have 27,000 season ticket holders. 27,000 for a spring league. There's some like DC Stadium can't even hold 20,000 people. I think 20,000 is their cap.
Yeah.
And 27,000 have bought season tickets to watch the Battlehawks, which is incredible, because the Battlehawks are a top 4 team, but they're not like DC or Houston, where they're 4-0 and just like looking like top tier. I think they're good. And
Yeah.
I think they'll put up a fight. If they make it to the playoffs, maybe they'll make it interesting against DC. But I mean, they're not that team, and they weren't that team 3 years ago either. But St. Louis just loves football and had their team ripped away from them, and they're making up for it.
Yeah, as much as I don't like
No.
St. Louis or Missouri just from my, NFL and college preferences, St. Louis is very, very deserving of a football team. And if the NFL does expand, there's like 99.9% chance that they get an NFL team back there, which would be
I mean, they
huge for
should.
that city.
They should. Like, that city wanted that team, and they just got pried away from them. And so,
Because LA
it's
needed two for some reason.
yeah, it's called their owner was a greedy scumbag. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Yeah, I almost put those fans for my best of the boot this week
I thought
because
about
it's
that
like,
too.
I mean, if you're pulling almost 40,000 people for an XFL game, like, you deserve best of the booth. I want to say I saw that they've already sold. Well, they have like the 27,000 that are season tickets, and I want to say they're up to like 31 or 32 for the game this week. And it's like, I mean, that city's going to single handedly keep the league afloat.
Yeah. Which
Well,
is good because it means at this point it seems like at least one of the spring leagues will survive, and maybe they'll end up eating the USFL and expanding the league that way.
yeah, that'd be fun.
They'll have to figure out with a couple teams that shit. Like, obviously both leagues have a Houston team. Is that really the only one that shares? I think so. Yeah.
I think so. I think so.
I don't know why I thought there was going to be more crossover as I was saying that, and then I'm like, no, wait, no, it's just Houston.
See, now you're gonna make me double check. You're gonna make me double check now.
No, there's Houston, New Orleans, Memphis,
Pittsburgh, Philly, New Jersey, Michigan.
I'm missing one.
No, Houston, Birmingham, New Orleans,
Birmingham.
and
That's
Memphis.
what I'm missing.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
So just move the Gamblers. They're bad anyway.
Well, yeah. I mean, they're a fun idea, though. Like, they're a fun idea. But yeah. Who you got for your best of the booth this week?
My best of the booth is a defense, which I don't think I've done yet this year, but held a good offense to 6 points, which I think was the lowest amount scored this week. A good offense to 6 points. And that is the Seattle Sea Dragons defense. I'm back in Seattle this week. I got to move this cat because he's in the way of my stats. Excuse me, buddy. But no, yeah, they held a good Brahmas offense to only 6 points. 4 sacks for 19 yards, 6 tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble. And one of the biggest strengths about the Brahmas was their run game. Like, Jack Cohn is good, but Kalen Balaj was like one of the top rushers coming into this week.
Yeah.
The total rushing yards for the Brahmas this game, 11 carries for 21 yards is what they were held to. To put that in a different perspective, the sack yards for their 4 sacks for 19 yards.
Wow.
If sack yards counted as rush yards, they would only have netted 2 yards on the ground the entire game. So with Jack Cohn's 189 passing yards, they were able to get 191 yards in a full 4 quarters of football. And that game felt close because the Sea Dragons offense couldn't quite be as high scoring as they normally are. I know they had a couple turnovers as well, but just to hold an offense like that, especially on the ground, a team that's been really strong running the ball these first 4 weeks,
Yeah.
To hold them to 21 yards and then 19 negative yards going the other way, that's impressive. And that deserved a shout out. So, Seattle Sea Dragons defense. Special shout out to Zara Skipper, who has a fantastic name and also got 2 of those sacks and forced the fumble. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean that Seattle really impressed me this week a lot. This is like what I've been waiting to see from them, because I do think the Brahmas are a decent team. I don't think they're a great team. I think they're a mid-level team, but I've been wanting to see Seattle really start looking like the talent level that they have, especially on the offense. And the offense wasn't fantastic, but it looked good. And the defense, that's the best. I think that's the best performance defense had all season. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Very very good job from them. I should have had you go second because my under review is in that game. We'll get back to it. My best of the booth. It feels weird picking this guy because they played the Orlando Guardians, and we all know the Guardians are stinky a poo poo. But there's only 8 teams. There's only so many performances that I can look at and say, okay, yeah, that's best of the booth worthy. And this was one of them. Brandon Silvers, the quarterback for the Houston Roughnecks, had maybe the cleanest stat line we've seen in the XFL thus far. He went 24 of 30, which I don't know if you can do quick math, Pete, but that is 80% completion percentage. 80%. Man's completing 80% of his passes for 239 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, no turnovers. He had a very, very clean game. The Roughnecks absolutely demolished the Guardians like we both said they would. 44-16, and Brandon Silvers had a huge part of that. At this point, I think you got to kind of start leaning towards Brandon Silvers being MVP of the league. I mean, I think DiNucci is not far behind, and I think McCarron could sit there and say, "Hey, I kind of have an argument too." But when you look at Brandon Silvers, he's just under 1,000 yards on the season, which Ben DiNucci is over 1,100 at this point. He's just over 65% completion percentage. DiNucci's just under 69. But those are the 2 spots where DiNucci has the upper hand. Silvers is the only quarterback in double-digit touchdowns through 4 games. He has 10 touchdowns to 3 picks. DiNucci has 8 to 4, and McCarron has 9 to 3. So Silvers is the best of the bunch in that group. He has, of those 3, he has the highest yards per attempt. I think that he's leading a 4-0 team. He's played incredible for them. A lot of that credit to his offensive line and credit to having good receivers. I just think he's looking like the cream of the crop.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with a team like a guy playing at that level who doesn't seem to be able to lose. What is weird about that game, going back and watching it, is there was I want to say not even a full quarter. There was 6 minutes where the Guardians actually looked good. there was 6 minutes Paxton Lynch threw 2 touchdowns, and it was oh, okay,
Yeah.
I see what's happening here.
Yeah.
But it was so weird, and I'm maybe the Roughnecks just gave up because they were so far ahead at that point.
I just think they were up 20-0 at the end of the first quarter. And I just think that what's the point in really even trying after this? You know? It's like I think I posted in the Discord that the Guardians might legitimately lose by 50 points tonight, and they end up losing by 28, which I feel is close enough. But,
yeah, pretty close. Yeah.
But it was from the jump, it was all Houston, and everybody in that stadium knew it. Everybody watching on TV knew it. All you had to do was turn on that game, and you knew that it was Houston's game. Orlando was god awful, just bad.
And then we also got, finally, I don't think we saw this in the USFL at all, even though they also have this rule. Finally saw the double forward pass.
Yes, sir.
John Trey Kirkland, at XFL history, first player to receive and throw a touchdown pass in the same game. So
Yeah.
shout out to John Trey Kirkland there.
I think he was my best of the booth last week.
Yeah, this team is just so scary. Like, they have probably the best quarterback. They seem to be the most well put together. Their coaching staff doesn't seem to have any problems. Like, they're just coming up with ways to dissect any team they play. And
yeah,
I don't know who's going to beat them.
And I do think there's got to be some credit given to Wade Phillips, their head coach. He has obviously probably the most NFL experience amongst any of the coaches. Bob Stoops has the most college football coaching experience, I would venture to say. But as far as NFL professional football, I think you've got to say Wade Phillips has the most experience there, and it's kind of showing on the field. Like, this team looks like the best team, and I think a lot of that is due to the head coaching experience that Wade Phillips brings to Houston.
Yeah. Well, from one of the better coaches to one of the worst coaching staffs, and I'm kind of going to put the whole staff on the line here because there was a lot of things that happened in this game. Vegas Vipers coaching staff, I didn't even bother to look up any of their names because it's not important.
Rod Woodson's their head coach. I know that.
Rod Woodson, their offensive coordinator, was getting a little feisty also, but there were just a lot of mistakes made this game that I feel like if first of all, the penalties against the Vipers, they had I don't have the yards. It doesn't show the yards here, but they had 11 penalties. 4 of them causing first downs for the defenders who don't have the strongest offense. You're just giving them yards at that point. Also, not that Perez played a bad game, but I'm not sure why Brett Hundley was pulled so early. When I was looking at the highlights and stuff, I didn't see an injury. They just said he got benched, but they completely undressed him. I know the very first play, he lost the snap. But then after that, the next couple of drives, he was 4 for 5 for 50 yards. It's not like he played horrible.
I remember they did a sideline interview with one of the coaches and asked, what happened with Hundley? Is there an injury? Is he okay? And I want to say that they said that he took some kind of hit, and so they just wanted to try and make sure he was okay or something like that. So I'm wondering if we have possibly a concussion situation here to where he took
maybe
some kind of bad hit. Maybe his head hit the ground a weird way and he just wasn't looking like 100%, and they just wanted to play it safe.
The verbiage the whole game was that he got benched, not that he got hurt. Right. So that's kind of what was like. I don't think he deserved to get benched at that point.
No, I agree. I mean, and based off of the way he looked last week, it's like why go back to Perez? But I mean, Perez is a perfectly fine quarterback, but he hasn't been great for them throughout the season.
Yeah, he played pretty well from this game, and the one interception he had wasn't his fault. The receiver just slipped. It looked like the Super Bowl out there with the rain. Everyone was kind of slipping around.
Yeah.
One of my biggest gripes is, first of all, how the offensive coordinator reacted when at the end of halftime. I don't know if you remember the end of halftime of this game, but they were on the goal line. They were out of timeouts. It was like 5 or 6 yards to the line, and Perez scrambled and tried to get the touchdown. They call it a touchdown on the field.
I do remember this.
They go back and review it. There's 5 seconds left. They go back and review it. They call it a no score, and there's a 10-second runoff because they wouldn't have been able to get another playoff. It makes sense. And that dude was about to fight a referee. And normally I'm all for, like, my favorite part of baseball is watching coaches just scream at umpires and kick home plate and stuff. But like, that's the easiest call to make. Like, looking at the replays, like, obviously he's not in, and he's like yelling he should be in, and then he's like trying to get one more snap, and it's like, that's just not how the game works. And
Yeah.
He went in. They went into the locker room, and they were like, "The referees are against us. We need to pull ourselves together." Like, no, you're just making dumb mistakes. Luis Perez should have known. Like, I get they're kind of closing in on you, but throw the ball away. Give yourself time to make one more play. You got to be absolutely sure you can get in the end zone.
Yeah.
And Luis Perez is not a scrambler.
Yeah.
So he should not have been confident in his ability to run 6 yards to the end zone. He should have thrown it away, given themselves one more shot. Instead, they missed an opportunity to score points at the half. And then the last kind of coaching decision, like the very next drive they had, I think there was an egregious pass interference call that was not called on the field. However, another new rule in the XFL, you can challenge anything.
Yeah.
You can challenge penalties, you can challenge spots, you can challenge anything. And they didn't. And even after that play, Dean Blandino was on. He's like, yeah, if he challenged it, we would have overturned it. What's the point? And this goes back to the double pass thing, where we didn't see it at all in the USFL.
Right.
What's the point of introducing these new rules if these coaches are too scared? If they're too scared or too just oblivious to give themselves an easy thing. Like, anybody with eyes that was looking that direction on a replay would call that pass interference. If you have the ability to make that change, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I do wonder also though, like something that I can't remember if the USFL or the XFL did it previously, but something that they used to do is if there was an egregious play like that didn't get called, they would actually call down from the booth before the next play is snapped and say, hey, hold up, there was pass interference on that, we missed that. Let's tack that on. So I don't know if the XFL is still doing that and they just missed it, which is a possibility.
So I don't think they are, because last week with the Battlehawks, something similar happened where like I don't remember exactly what the situation was, but the St. Louis Battlehawks had to use their challenge because the booth didn't review something.
Well, I mean, it makes, like, if they're gonna give you a challenge to where you can challenge anything, it makes sense to then put it in their hands to sit there and say, hey, that was actually like really bad pass interference. I'm gonna make you look at that again and make sure it wasn't. It makes sense to put the ball in their court versus a sky judge saying, hey, actually, let's review that play, because again, like, it's been said multiple times that there's holding on every play, and there is. You have 22 guys out there, and like at least 10 of them are caught up in blocking scenarios, whether they're being blocked or actively blocking, and so somebody's going to get held on every play.
Yeah.
And so if you had a sky judge that could sit there and say, oh wait, actually there was holding on that play, well then it's like, well, you could call that every single play. And so it does make sense that you then put that power in the coach's hand to sit there and say, hey, there was actually like really freaking bad holding that you missed. How about you go take a look at that again, versus leaving that in the hands of another official. That would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just the mentality of it's the ref's fault when watching the game. It's like they just played bad, sloppy football for a lot of the game. Yeah. And the DC Defenders, again, a great performance by Jordan Teamu and Derek King. They're dual quarterback. Jordan Teamu is driving down the field, and Derek King is just finding the end zone. Like, it's this weird kind of 1-2 punch they have. I almost thought about putting them together as best of the booth also.
I don't know how they're making it work, but they're making it happen. I'll say this. I want to say that this is both the first head coaching job for Rod Woodson and Hines Ward, both, Hall of Fame players in the NFL, and I want to say this is their first head coaching job. And of the two of them, I've been far more impressed with the way Hines Ward has conducted himself versus Rod Woodson. I'm with you. I don't love his whole demeanor. Um, I do think that he had a fair gripe about that halftime play. It is the rules. I get that it's the rules. It's bad.
Yeah.
It's a bad rule though. It's a bad rule because like I feel like
Runoffs are tough. Like, it's a tough way to end the
yeah,
half.
it is like
Yeah.
it sucks. It sucks because like you didn't actually get a chance to even try and stop the clock. Not saying that they even would have. I mean, 5 seconds you're probably not going to, and that's what Blandino was explaining is that the idea is that if it's less than 10 seconds on the clock, you're not going to be able to actually get set and stop the clock.
I mean, yeah, we saw
However,
that with Dak in the playoffs last year.
yes, but however, if you have teams prepared for that scenario, there has been instances where guys have been able to get the clock stopped with, 7, 8 seconds, whatever. So I'm not saying I get the idea of the rule. I just think it's a bad rule. I think that there should be some sort of opportunity given if the clock is stopped due to a booth review like that. I think that's on the booth at that point. Because what they could have done is just kept the clock going and not called a touchdown and not had a review. And then the coach could have challenged the play and said, "Oh wait, he was in. Let's take another." You know what I'm saying? Like leave it in their hands versus making your call on the field that ends up being wrong, and then the team gets punished for that. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like that it feels. I'm not saying it is, but it feels one-sided at that point.
The opposite side of that, though, is they tell referees to, if it's close, to call
That is true. That is true.
Call it a touchdown so that they can review it.
Yeah, I don't think there's a perfect answer, and it does suck. I get that, but from a coaching standpoint, like you've just got to keep your composure. Like you've got to understand, hey, these guys are not rooting against me. We're just playing bad. Maybe let's play better.
Yeah, because it's like they came out in the second half with the chip on their shoulder. They immediately got a fumble on the kickoff return and then still played bad football after that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, speaking of playing bad football, my under review is a guy that I'm pretty sure I put best of the booth a couple weeks ago. And I'm pretty sure I once said was the best quarterback in the XFL. And I kind of want to take all of that back at this point. And that is Jack Cohn of the San Antonio Brahmas. Don't get me wrong, I think Jack Cohn he's been fine, and I think that he's certainly not getting any help from his receivers. His receivers have some bad hands. There's been multiple passes that have been online, and his receivers just fumble it. They just can't hold on to it. It slips through their fingertips, whatever. And that sucks as a quarterback. However, through 2 weeks now, and I get it, last week they faced the Roughnecks. The Roughnecks have a dominant defense. This week they faced the Sea Dragons. The Sea Dragons probably have a top 4 defense. It's tough. You're facing 2 very good teams. However, you've got a lot of talent on this Brahma squad. And I feel like they were in a position in both of these games versus the Roughnecks and versus the Sea Dragons to win them. They lost both of them by a combined 18 points, which is 2 possessions. That's 2 possessions in the XFL. You lost both these games by 1 possession. You could have gotten yourself back into it. But Jack Cohn has played terrible through 2 weeks. These are his numbers through 2 weeks. He has gone 28 of 59. Again, I don't know if you got quick math skills over there. That is
about half. Yeah.
It's less than half. It's 47.5% completion percentage, which is terrible. God awful. He's only thrown for 253 yards. That's in 2 games. And 1 touchdown, 1 pick in 2 games. So the turnovers aren't there, which is good for him because when you get tipped tipped passes off of your receivers, like some of those can go the other way pretty easily. So luckily for him, turnovers haven't been there, but he's just not getting it done. Like that completion percentage is awful. It's terrible. You can't expect to win when you're throwing less than 50%. Even in the XFL, I feel like in the NFL, like your great, I'll say good baseline is 65% and above is good quarterback play. And in the XFL, I would lower that down to 60%. I think if you're throwing 60% in the XFL, you're playing good. You're probably in the top half. And even if you look at the stats, like the stats back me up in that. Ben DiNucci, 60, just under 69. Brandon Silver, 65. Adrian McCarron, 65. Even Paxton Lynch is throwing 60%. And Jack Cohn is at 58%, and over the last 2 weeks he's been at 47.5. So like you can't expect to win when you're doing that. And so that's why I've got to put him under review. Just step it up. You're on a good team. You've been in these games. You've lost 3 games that you were in until the very end. You step up your play a little bit, you could be sitting at 4-0 right now. So under review.
Yeah. I am curious how many of those are drops, because I remember even saying week 1 because
There is
I
a
had
lot.
him in,
There's a lot.
I had him in my little group week 1, Ben DiNucci and Jack Cohn. I can't remember who the other quarterback was that week. It might have been Luis Perez. But yeah, because I remember like he would have had a lot higher completion percentage if his receivers could catch.
Yeah.
And so obviously that's a big detriment to how he's playing. And then also, especially this game, not being able to have a run game kind of makes you a one-trick pony there. And like they had to throw the ball to stay in it, and they just weren't able to execute, and the defense was ready for it. So I think Jack Cohn will bounce back, but yeah, definitely not a good 2-week showing for him, unfortunately.
And again, like you're facing good teams. The Sea Dragons are a good team. The Roughnecks are the best team. But you're not getting completely overmatched. Like you've been in these games, and if your quarterback play was just the slightest bit better, you're looking at 2 games that you could have easily won because a couple of things bounce your way. Your quarterback play is a little bit better. You're probably walking out of there with a win just because your defense has played well enough, and the rest of your offense is making enough plays. So, yeah, I mean, I just feel like you just got to be the tiniest bit better. That's all I'm asking for, Jack Cohn. Is just be that much better. Just do that much more. Put yourself in a position to get that much more. Just that much more. That's all you need.
And maybe throw to like your running backs more or something, because your receivers just ain't it.
throw to Mac. Throw to your tight end Mac. Like he's been great for them, but the receivers have been bad. They've been bad for sure.
Yeah.
Do we have a legit or counterfeit this week?
I'm kind of making one up here on the fly because I was going to talk about
man.
does St. Louis deserve a team, and we've already kind of talked about that. So, we'll keep it simple, and it's maybe less of a legit or counterfeit or more of a what if at this point, because right now we have 2 teams that are 0-4.
Yeah.
Both of these teams, it's hard to say the Guardians showed flashes, but they lost 1 point to the Renegades and had 6 good minutes of football against the Roughnecks, the best team in the league this week. The Vipers look like they've had talent and always just find a way to lose. Who's going to win a game first, if at all, between these 2 teams?
Between the Vipers and Guardians?
Yeah.
The Vipers.
Think so?
I have zero faith in the Guardians winning a game this year. The Vipers, to me, have at least shown that they have, like they've at least shown that they have some talent. I think a lot of their problems come down to bad coaching, whereas the Guardians have nothing. They have like nothing. So, Yeah, I would say the Vipers, in my opinion.
Yeah. The only reason I ask is because the last couple weeks, Paxton Lynch actually hasn't looked terrible, and he's currently fourth in the league in yards, where he's been splitting a lot of time with Quentin Dormati, I think, is their backup.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, Quentin Normandy.
he's fourth in the league in yard and just under 700. He's at 60% completion percentage, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, versus Luis Perez and Brent Hudley, who are down at what's that? 4, 5, 6. They're seventh and eighth, both under 600. Uh, Luis Perez a little bit higher completion percentage, 1 more touchdown, but 2 more picks. Like it seems like if I still want to put most of the Guardians' blame on the O line, just it
That's
makes it
fair.
harder for them
Yeah,
to do anything and
yeah.
their run game in general. Um, It makes me think maybe if the Guardians and the Vipers played each other, the Guardians could sneak out a win. And
Yeah,
that's kind of what I've been thinking about, like looking at the stats from these games.
I mean,
Like it's possible.
we'll find out this week because conveniently they play each other this week.
Yeah.
So somebody is gonna walk away with a win, and somebody's gonna remain completely defeated.
Yeah. Funnily enough, looking at the quarterback stats, like the worst team of like with their quarterbacks is the uh Renegades with Sloter and Drew Blitt both sitting
Yeah,
towards the very like towards the bottom there.
yeah. Sloter's been rough the last couple weeks. I almost put him under review because he threw 3 picks this week.
Yeah.
But they were playing the Battlehawks with 38,000 people yelling at him. So,
Yeah.
maybe you get it past this one time, Sloter. Maybe you get it past this one time. Well, let's hit our power rankings real quick. I think I can speak for both of us that in 8th place we have the Orlando Guardians.
Yes. Mine have not moved very much this week. Um but yeah, I forgot to whatever. Nobody's seeing this anyway. I forgot to change a record, but you and me are the only ones that see it, so
Yeah,
Guardians sitting at 0-4. Besides the little bit of shine that we've gotten from Paxton Lynch the last couple of weeks, not really anything there.
yeah,
Their offensive line might as well just be like you and me standing there trying to block professional football players. Um, we might be better, honestly. I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
I played left guard for a year when I was 12. Does that qualify me? I feel like I could do
Does it? I played
that.
quarterback for a flag football team when I was in kindergarten, so
Well, maybe there you go. Maybe you're better than Paxton Lynch.
maybe, maybe let's go try out for the Orlando Guardians. Yeah, they're sticking at 8. Really, the only change I made this week is I knocked the Vipers down to 7th. As much as I think the Renegades are still frauds, being 0-4, it's hard to justify keeping you above a team that's 2-2.
Yeah.
I know the Renegades also lost this week, but again, they were also in a stadium with 38,000 people.
Yeah.
So they get a little bit of a pass, and I just think they're a little bit more well put together than the Vipers right now. The Vipers just seem to be looking outward for their problems instead of inwards.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I've also got the Vipers at 7. It's a bad team. It's just, in my opinion, they have shown more to me through 4 games than Orlando has. That's the only reason why I have Vegas at 7 over Orlando. And like you said, at 6, I've got Arlington. The Renegades they're frauds in every aspect. I think that they will be exposed more and more the more good teams that they play. But yeah, Arlington at 6 for me. You have Arlington at 6 as well?
yes.
Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
feel like our list is probably the same, except maybe one team flip flopped.
Possibly. At five, I've got the Brahmas.
Yep.
Um, yeah, and I think similar, like their record is worse than Arlington, but the fact that they've been, especially these past 2 weeks against the Battlehawks, or not the Battlehawks, against the Sea Dragons and the Roughnecks these last 2 weeks, it just kind of, to me, it shows that like you're there. You're right there, to compete with these teams. To lose by one possession to both of those teams, I think says a lot. Like you're not getting blown out. You're not getting that overmatched. Like you're competing. You're just not just a notch. You're just a notch below from being up there with them. So yeah, that's why I've got them at 5. Are you?
Yeah. 4, I got the Battlehawks.
Mm,
Really, the Battlehawks and the Sea Dragons, I think you could flip flop and still be okay. I just liked the defensive showing from the Sea Dragons this week a lot, and I think if that team can have a good offense and a good defense at the same time,
yeah.
then they could also be unstoppable like the Roughnecks. They just got to make both sides of the ball click on in one game. Like you can't
Yeah.
choose one or the other. You got to do both.
Yeah, interesting. I've got the Sea Dragons at 4 and the Battlehawks at 3, and I think that's just because I've seen more consistency from St. Louis. Like I don't. I'm with you. I could flip flop these and I'd be okay with either one. I just think I've seen more consistency with St. Louis, and especially like when the game matters, it seems like more times I've seen the Battlehawks pull out the win, and more times I've seen Seattle give up the win. So
Yeah.
I'm with you. I like Seattle. I like where they're headed. I just want to continue to see it. So that's why I've got the Battlehawks at 3, Sea Dragons at 4.
Yeah, Sea Dragons at 3 for me
Yeah.
because the top two teams are undefeated and it is hard to put anybody past them. At number 2, I have the DC Defenders.
Yep.
Um, Tiamu keeps looking better and better every week. Like he's still not doing anything crazy. His stats might look better if they don't swap in Derek King every time they get in the red zone, but it works.
Yeah.
Derek King, I think only took a few snaps. I'm trying to go back to the stats here. I know he was 2 for 2 with both passes being touchdown passes,
Yeah.
and he also had a rushing touchdown. Yeah, 2 for 2 for 38 yards. Um, One of them was a 32-yard bomb, basically.
Yeah.
Um,
But like it makes sense that you would put him in red zone situations just because of the fact that like he is such a threat with his legs. And then if he can get the passing game going, like he could be an unstoppable red zone threat, which is kind of what he's been.
he's
Um,
so it's so crazy because you think of it like the most comparable quarterback to him is Kyler Murray, and he's even smaller than Kyler Murray, which I didn't know was possible.
yeah, yeah, but like he's a guy that the way that they've used him when he enters the game, you expect him to be running the ball. And so that's going to be your natural tendency defensively is to play him as if he's running it or at the very least it's going to be an option play. There's no like the threat of a pass is it's not even really in your mind just because of the way he's been used. But like I said, if he can get that passing game developed, which like I said, on this past weekend, it looked like he did. Then it makes you question everything once he gets in there, and that's the last thing you want as a defense when you're in the red zone is to be questioning everything. So
Yeah,
so I mean that's some smart coaching, I think, the way they're using them, which I still think it's going to end up being a problem eventually, but for now it's working. So if it ain't broke, don't
yeah,
fix it.
and I still think they have their defense is the best in the league. Fun fact: so they have their solo and assisted tackles, and normally assisted tackles is like half of what the total tackles are, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe a quarter. This week, 46 total tackles. Only 2 of them were assisted. Like this
Interesting.
defender's defense is just so good at taking people down.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, they are.
if it's a one-on-one situation, the defender seems like both the defender as the position and as the team, um, it seems like they're gonna win every single scenario.
Yeah.
At that point, so I
Yeah.
got them at number 2 just because I'm assuming you do too.
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
know if we got there, but
Yeah. Obvious number one is Houston.
yeah,
Again, all it takes is turning on a Houston game, turning on the XFL, and watching the way this Houston team plays versus any other team, and it's clear cut who the best team in the league is. It is the Roughnecks, and in my opinion, it's their championship to lose at this point, because they're going to make it out of the South. Like they have no competition in the South. San Antonio, Arlington, and Orlando are the 3 other teams in the South, and they are miles ahead of those. Now, the North is going to get interesting because you got DC, St. Louis, and Seattle. All 3 of those teams, it's going to come down to the wire. 2 of them only make the South Championship or the North Championship, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next 6 weeks in that race. But the South it's Houston's to lose. The championship is Houston's to lose. They're the best team, just hands down.
yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate right now that the Renegades would be the second team in the
and they would get
now.
destroyed in the South Championship. Yeah. They really would. They don't stand a chance.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, let's. I say we put week 4 in the rear view, and listen, man. We're almost there. We're almost at the halfway point of the XFL season. It's time for week 5, and I say we get picky with it, man.
Nah, get picky with it. Nah, get picky with it. Nah.
You and your obscure references, man.
But you got that one, right?
I did not get that one either.
Oh my god, it's Law and Order, man. I didn't do a very good job. I didn't do a very good job.
I feel like
fair.
I feel like you missed a barn there. No.
No. I got lost for a second trying to put the words in there, but
yeah.
Listen, this is why you guys listen, is to listen to me butcher this every single week when there's a jingle for it.
Yeah, but it's got Blake's voice in it, and I feel weird using Blake's voice on a non-Blake podcast. So I'm just saying.
It helps show that he's here in spirit.
Oh, hey, Andy Dalton head to the Carolina Panthers. I just saw that. Just pulled up ESPN. Not that it matters. He ain't gonna be playing, but yeah, I did not pull up I did not pull up the XFL game, so that's what I'm doing right now.
He quick break while you're pulling that up, and you can leave this in or take it out or whatever. I think this is a smart move though to have, like, he might not be like the best person to kind of sit behind, but
right.
I still feel like Andy Dalton is, has been in the league a long time and could definitely help whoever
I agree
the Panthers end up drafting, assuming they keep that draft pick.
I agree.
Which I think they will. But
yeah, I mean, I think at the very least Carolina is probably drafting a quarterback. Whether they draft him at 1 or draft him a couple spots lower is that's still the question that's floated out there. But I think they will end up drafting a quarterback. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't think Andy Dalton's the worst guy to sit behind. He brings a lot of veteran knowledge. He's been around the league. He was a starter for a long time in Cincinnati and a successful starter for a long time in Cincinnati. So, yeah, he's definitely not the worst guy. All right. Starting us off. Thursday night. We got a late kickoff. Well, late for us East Coasters. 10:30 p.m. on ESPN. I do love me some late night football, so I'm all about this. We have the 4-0 Houston Roughnecks making their way up to Seattle to take on the 2-2 surging Seattle Sea Dragons. Tickets are as low as $16. If you're in Seattle, go watch this game, because this might be one of the best games of the weekend. I think these are 2 very good teams. I think it's going to be a fun time. And Vegas has the line at Houston 3-point favorites. I think that's a little unfair to Houston. I think Houston should be a little bit higher of a favorite, but maybe that's showing some love to Seattle for how they've looked recently, showing some love to how the Seattle's defense looked on Sunday. So I get it, but I'm still rolling with the Roughnecks. There's no way that I can sit here and pick the Sea Dragons to get the upset. Although I have a sneaky feeling that you're about to do just that. So I ask you, good sir, who you got, man?
You know me so well, Devin. No, again, yeah, the Sea Dragons have been surging. I don't think the defense will be as dominant as they were, but I think the offense is clicking enough now to where this will be a shootout between the two best quarterbacks in the league. And,
Yeah.
Me as a lifelong Seattle Sea Dragons fan, am hoping that Ben DiNucci and Josh Gordon's veteran experience will pull them through to get the upset at the end of the day at home. Give me the Seattle Sea Dragons. I do want to say before we keep going, looking at the slate, this might be the most even kind of set of games that we've had. Like, none of these feel like they'll be a blowout to me. Like,
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
They're all going to be close, I think.
Yeah, what's crazy to me is that the over-under on this game is set at 41.5, and I feel like
it could be higher.
It could easily be close to 50. Could easily be close to 50. Just because of how good both of these offenses are. Now, I will say the defenses are pretty dang good too. Like the Roughnecks defense is right up there among the best. The Sea Dragons defense is surging definitely in the top four. But these offenses are so good. I think these might be the two best offenses in the league. So to sit there and say the over-under is only 41.5, I think that could get blown out the water. So just my little betting tip floated out there for you guys.
Yep. I'm going to try my best to stay awake for that game because
it is going to be tough. It is going to be tough to be awake until, I guess, between 1 and 1:30 a.m. for us on the East Coast. Yeah, that's gonna be tough. But
if you're on the West Coast, will you just text us how the game is going so we can wake up in the morning and just read, oh, the Sea Dragons won. Nice.
Well, let's go over to Saturday night. Starting us off, we have another fun one in the Dome in St. Louis. We've got the 4-0 DC Defenders coming to town to take on, I would say, their rivals at this point in the St. Louis Battlehawks. 3-1. The Battlehawks are hungry. They want to keep racking up those wins. This is the most expensive game of the weekend, naturally so, because everybody's buying tickets. But still, only $31. $31 I would spend for this game in particular. This is going to be a fun one. At 7, over on FX, Saturday night, DC versus St. Louis. Vegas has the line set. DC, 2-point favorites on the road. I think that's a little disrespectful of St. Louis. I get that DC are 4-0, and that defense is incredible. I would argue that defense is the best in the XFL. Houston's very close, but I would say DC is the best defensively. But that offense, continues to worry me. Even though they keep putting up 25 plus points a week, I just can't trust it yet, man. And when you got 40,000 fans screaming at you, it's going to make life a lot more difficult. I'm going with the upset here. I'm taking St. Louis at home in front of that crowd that's going to be going crazy. I like the Battlehawks to get it done. Who you got, man?
This game is going to be hot. Battlehawks are coming for blood at this point.
Yep.
If you guys don't remember 2 weeks ago, the game ended basically with a brawl where 3 players got suspended and another couple ejected for those final. It got so bad, the final kneel down, the Battlehawks jumped the line and started another fight, and they just ended the game. They were like, we're not doing another snap. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
The team that's out for revenge, out for blood, with the two best fan bases. Like,
Yes.
I don't think there's a lot of DC fans buying tickets or like traveling for this game.
I
If
wish they
there
would, though. I wish they would.
if there was a game that I wish had traveling fans, it would be watching DC Defenders trying to put up a beer snake
Yeah.
in St. Louis and just getting a brawl in the stands also.
Well,
Oh man.
maybe get a couple lemons tossed on the field too.
Yeah.
Like, it's what sucks is, like, no disrespect to Seattle, and if Seattle finds themselves in the North Championship, I'd be fine with that too. But I kind of really want to see a third matchup between DC and St. Louis. Like, we haven't even seen the second one yet, but it just feels like these two teams facing off against each other is going to be fun every single time. And so I kind of want to see that in the playoffs, because if you got this much heat in the regular season, when things are elevated to that next level in the playoffs, I think it's going to be just that much more fun. Yeah. So
any team at this point going into St. Louis isn't going to know what hit them. And DC might have made a mistake by maybe in their eyes disrespecting the St. Louis Battlehawks with all the fighting that was going on and getting the Battlehawks fans riled up. Because, man, if they bought 40,000 people with that kind of energy, that kind of crowd to play the Renegades, cool. Yeah. Yeah, give me the Battlehawks in the upset with this one.
The big question is, can St. Louis sell over 40,000? I think they could get over 40,000. I mean, they were close. They were, I want to say the official number was 38,610. So you're just 1,400 away from cracking that 40K. And I think that'd be huge.
This is the game to do it. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
Again, it's the DC Defenders, the Seattle Sea Dragons, and the Houston Roughnecks. When those teams come into St. Louis, if the Roughnecks even are, because they're in the South, I don't know if they will be.
That's what I was just checking. They're not. They play in Houston. That's their matchup this year, is in Houston.
But yeah, the Defenders and the Sea Dragons, when they come into St. Louis, that's the time to be there for those two games, because the Sea Dragons will be coming in there looking for revenge also. So
yeah, Sea Dragons will be in week 9 on April 16th.
But yeah, give me the Battlehawks. I think week 4, they've already gotten some wins, but this week 4, them realizing just how many people are behind them.
Yeah.
They're going to be hard to stop at home.
Yeah. Yep. I'm with you. Well, we're going to go from 40,000 people in the stands to maybe 6 for Vegas. 10 p.m. on Saturday night. We have the
6 people, to be clear.
I mean, it feels that way. At 10 p.m. on Saturday night over on FX, we have the Orlando Guardians, 0-4, head into Vegas to take on the 0-4 Vegas Vipers at Cashman Field, which is an awful venue. I don't know who decided, hey, let's put an XFL team in Vegas, but they should be fired. That was an awful decision, and to put it at Cashman Field, which is a glorified baseball stadium, but not in the sense like the Renegades play at an old baseball stadium, and you wouldn't quite be able to tell because of the renovations they've done. This one, they have no outfield seats. What they do in the outfield is they just put up a wall. They just put up a wall out there. So it's just, you got an L-shaped seating section of fans and then a wall. It's awful. It's a terrible environment. They're only drawing like 6,000 people. They have the worst attendance in the entire XFL. It doesn't help that they're 0-4. It's garbage. And for whatever reason, because the Guardians are this flipping bad, I'm still rolling with the Vipers against them with 0 home field advantage. And Vegas is with me. You want to know what the line is on this game? This is the biggest line of the week. This is how much the Orlando Guardians are hated because they're that bad. Do you want to take a guess as to what the line is?
Is this the first double-digit line?
It's not double-digit. It's not that. It won't be long. It won't be long before this double-digit one against the Guardians. That's for sure.
I'm going to say 7.5.
It is exactly 7.5. You were spot on. And again, it wouldn't surprise me if the Guardians lose by 10. Even against this Vipers team, I have like little to no confidence the Vipers can even put up 10 points. But it wouldn't surprise me if they beat the Guardians by 10 because Orlando is that flippin' bad. And it sucks that they play in such a crap stadium with crap fans. I hate it. Get the Vipers out of Vegas. It's a garbage freaking decision. Who you got?
Yeah, this game's at 10 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday night.
Go to sleep. Just don't stay up.
Literally do anything else. I think St. Patty's Day is this weekend. Celebrated a day late, maybe. Go out that night and wear green, just not Orlando Guardian green, like a darker green, maybe. This is going to be sloppy. I don't even know if I want to pick anybody. As interesting as it would be to see the Guardians finally get a win, I just don't know if I can do it. Like I said, the only shine on that team has been Paxton Lynch kind of the past couple weeks, and he's still running for his life. Yeah.
The team is garbage.
Yeah, give me the Vipers. I was thinking about going against you to make it interesting, but I can't do it. The Guardians are just so disappointing. And so are the Vipers, but at least they've shown talent.
There's no point in making it interesting if it means that you have to pick the Orlando Guardians. So let's head over to Sunday night in San Antonio. We've got the Arlington Renegades sitting at 2-2, going on the road to San Antonio to take on the Brahmas, who are sitting at 1-3. This should be another relatively packed stadium. I don't know how packed. It's going to be a little tough. It's an 8 o'clock local time start, which is a little late on a Sunday night when you've got work the next morning. Kids have got school the next morning. Maybe. It might be spring break, but regardless, it's kind of a tough scheduling issue. I think the smarter decision would have been to push it back about 2 hours, start at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. So we'll see, because last time, I want to say this is San Antonio's only second. I want to say this is only their second home game. I want to make sure of that.
Maybe, yeah.
Because I don't think they've played a second time in their stadium. Yeah, they haven't. They played in week 1 and they haven't played since then. But in week 1, the Alamo Dome, I want to say they drew 27,000, and I think they could draw 25,000 at least again. But it's a tough time. It's a tough time slot. So I don't know, but should be a good game. Should be fun. The Brahmas are 2.5 point favorites. That's fair. I think they're better. I don't think they're a ton better than this Renegades team, even though I think the Renegades are fraudulent. I just think that the Brahmas, they haven't played up to their potential. You can see the potential there, and they just haven't met it yet. We'll see if this week, they finally get that second win. I've got San Antonio winning. I don't feel great about it, but I can't pick Arlington. I just can't in any scenario.
Yeah.
So who you got, man?
Yeah, I want Jack Cohn and Hines Ward to look me in the eyes right now. I know you're watching, and I want you to look me in my eyeballs. I'll take off my glasses. Nothing in between us. Don't worry about the camera. Don't worry about your computer screen. Look at my eyeballs. If next week I have to put the Renegades ahead of you in the power rankings, I'm going to lose it. I have been tame and calm this week, and if I have to yell next week at you guys after showing so much promise in the first 2 weeks, I'm just going to snap. Yeah. I'm going to snap, and stuff might get broken. So get it done.
That's fair.
I'm picking the Brahmas. They need to get a win at home here against the very fraudulent Arlington Renegades. That's really all I have to say about that.
You want a ridiculous betting line of the week? For the Orlando Guardians and the Vegas Vipers, which I feel like I should have brought this up whenever we were actually talking about them. The over-under. Take a wild guess what it's set at.
Oh, it's probably pretty low. 30.
It is set at 42 points.
What?
It is tied for the highest over-under of the weekend for the Orlando Guardians and the Vegas Vipers.
I know the Vegas Vipers can put up points, but
42 points. I'm not convinced that these two teams can score 21 points each in a professional football game.
I'm looking
how
at.
are you going to set it at 42? The Defenders and Battlehawks are also set at 42, which that I can believe. But there's no way that those two lines should be higher than the Roughnecks and Sea Dragons.
I don't know why I thought Vegas had a higher scoring average, but no, they had one high scoring game. Week 3, they had 26 against the Sea Dragons.
Yep.
Besides that, they had 6 against Vegas. They had 20 against Arlington. And then they scored 18 this week.
Yep.
And the Guardians 16, 9, 12, and 12.
My point exactly. Like,
Man.
I don't understand it. But yeah, whatever. It is what it is.
You know how much money is gonna get made if they make that over, though?
I mean, maybe, I guess. Oh, man. Well, as always, we appreciate you tuning in and listening to us, and hopefully you're not taking our betting advice. And if you do, and you win, I feel like somewhat we're slightly entitled to a cut of that, so let's make that happen if you end up winning off of our advice.
My Venmo is...
Send it to me and me
only. I'll distribute.
I do accept cash or check. I'll keep it old school, And if you want to go the technical route with the new, Cash App and Venmo and whatever, I'll take that too. But cash or check works perfectly fine. But yeah,
a cash or check you can mail to my personal address.
As always, we appreciate you tuning in and listening to us in whatever format you are doing. So if you're on YouTube, hey, click that subscribe button. Make sure you're notified every single time that we go live. Again, we have socials that we don't use, so follow at your own risk. But hop into the Discord because that place is popping off, especially with NFL free agency happening currently. We are discussing all things football constantly, and other sports too, disc golf, baseball, whatever your thing is. So hop into the Discord. It's where all the fun is happening. But as always, we appreciate you. We love you. And I think that's that.
Ciao.